Hello everyone, today we are going to look at 1 Peter chapter 1 verses 10 to 12. So first I'll go ahead and read the Greek and we can get started. Peri heis soterias exegetesan kai exereonesan prophetai hoi peri tes is humas caritos propheteosantes Erelnontes is tina e poion chiron edelu to en autois pneuma Christu promartyromenon ta is Christon patemata kai tas meta tauta doxas hois apocalypte hoti heautois humin de diaconon alta ha nun anegele humin dia ton euangelisamenon humas en pneumati hagio apostolenti apuranu is ha epitumusin angeloi parakupsai. Okay, so here we see that we have perites soterias, which is according or about this salvation. So here we have hes, which is a relative pronoun. Here we could use it as a kind of qualifier of soterias. And this soterias, of course, refers to the previous soterias that was already in verse 9, the salvation of your souls. So here is a continuation of verse 9, perihes soterias, about which salvation, exegetesan, kai exereostesan. So exegetesan, if you remember zeteo, you have an X and we have a zeteo with a epsilon augment. This is the aorist, third person plural of ex zeteo, and zeteo has the connotation of seek. And if you add X, then you got seek out or search out, or to search thoroughly, to search in a very thorough way. Oh, here we have search earnestly. And then we have also another X paired with another epsilon. This is another epsilon augment, augmented to another epsilon that was already in the word. So X, and then as you can see below, it's erelnao. So we have two epsilons, which of course make the eta before the rho here. And then we also have eta, and then san, which is also, of course, a third person plural. This is where the alpha gets assimilated into the eta, and so it just disappears. So exereonesan, and it means to search out. So we have erelnao. If you remember the word heuristics, it comes from this word, erelnao. Okay, so that means to search out, or to find, to search out. And then prophetai, which comes from prophetes, but prophetes, although it looks feminine, it's actually a masculine noun, nominative plural. We have prophet. The prophet, hoi, we have an article here. So this article also acts kind of like a relative pronoun. The prophets who, perites caritos. So we're jumping to caritos, which means grace. So about which grace, and here we see Peter modifying this grace, the grace which is unto you. Okay, so about who about this grace which is unto you, propheteusantes. Here we have an aorist participle, active participle in the masculine plural, or masculine and feminine, but we take masculine here. So propheteusantes, who prophesied about this grace which is unto you, which is for you. Okay, so this is in the past. So he's talking about the prophets in the past. Then we move on to verse 11. Here we see again, erelnontes. Here we have erel now again, which is to search, to inquire, and here it is in the participle, the active, present active participle. So originally there was an alpha here where the omega is, and then you have an omicron, which when paired with the alpha, it turns into omega. So here we have erelnontes. So searching is Tina, searching into or searching for Tina, which is interrogative pronoun. Here we see that it has a noon alpha, and if you get a noon alpha, then it is definitely a masculine or feminine accusative, because if it was neuter, then we would only have T. But here we have declined Tina, which is different from the nominative tis for who. So here, this is definitely a person. So is into whom, or about whom. E or poion, chiron. So poion is what, which kind, or what kind. Poion chiron, which kind of time, what time. So who and when. Edelu. So delo means to make clear. We see that we have an epsilon augment, but we also have an omicron upsilon, so it makes it a third person. So third person is singular, imperfect. And delu, they have been declaring, told that in autois, in them, pneuma Christu, the Spirit of Christ. Promarturomenon. So promarturomenon comes from promarturomai, which is to foretell and witness beforehand. And this is middle participle. We can see below is a present middle participle in the neuter or masculine, but here it is in the neuter because pneuma is in the neuter. So we have pro, and then we have marturomenon, which, if you know marturomenon has the meaning of witness, and pro has the meaning of before, so witness before. So we translate it as to foretell. Ta, which is a neuter plural article. So it should imply like some things or a bunch of things. And here we have pathemata, which is pathema, which means suffering. And this is in a plural, so in the suffering that belongs to Christ. So Christ's suffering. Ta is Christon pathemata, the Christ's suffering. So they foretold, or they are foretelling Christ's suffering. Kai tas metatauta, and tas doxas, and it's qualified by metatauta. So it means the glory. Meta tauta. Meta means after, and tauta means these. So after these. So we can say the glory afterwards, or we can translate the subsequent glories. And then we go to verse 12. Hois apocalypte, to whom apocalypte is the aorist of apocalypto. In the third person singular has a eta. So it was revealed, to whom it was revealed, hoti, that, uch heotois, not to them, not to themselves, hemin, but to us, hemin de. So we have de, which we translate as but here. And then we have diakonun, which is to serve. Diakoneo, here it is in the third person, plural, imperfect, active. So they found out, which is revealed to them, that not themselves, not for themselves, but for us, they were serving all these, or all these things. And then we have Han Nun, which now Nun, Anengele, which comes from the conjunction of ana, which is up, and angelo, which is to send a message. And if you put ana and angelo together, we translate it as to report. So, which is now reported to you. Here we find we find something funny here going on, because ha is a plural neuter, but oftentimes plural neuter nouns can be, they can take a singular, third person singular verb. They can act as if they're third person singular. So that's why they use anengele here. And then humin, to you, diaton euangelisamenon, the good news, or to proclaim the good news. Humas, to you, in, which is in. Pneumati hagio, the Holy Spirit. Apostalenti, modifying the Holy Spirit which was sent. This is in the aorist passive participle. Here we assume it as neuter because pneumati is neuter, which is sent apuranu, so from the sky or from heaven. Is ha epitumusin, into these things, epitumusin, angeloi. So here we have the verb fronted before the noun, the subject of the verb, angeloi. So there could be some emphasizing going on. Ha epithomusin, which desired the angels, which the angels desire. So even the angels desire parakupsai. Parakupsai here is translated to look through, you could say to stoop down and look at, to peer down at. We have para and kupto. Kupsai comes from kupto, and kupto means to bend forward. So you could say to bend forward at something. And so this we translate as to look through, to lean and look closer, take a better look at. So that is all for verses 10 to 12, the parsing. Here we can take a look at the English translation. Okay, so we have concerning this salvation, the prophets who prophesied about the grace that was to be yours searched and inquired carefully. Okay, so we can see that carefully was translated for the X here, to search thoroughly or to find thoroughly. We continue from verse 11, inquiring what person, tina, or time, the Spirit of Christ in them was indicating when he predicted the sufferings of Christ and the subsequent glories. So metatauta. It was revealed to them. So here, that they were serving not themselves but you in the things that have now been announced to you. So here, alta is translated here with an additional phrasal in the things to clarify its meaning here in the sentence. So these things, hanun, which now, that have now been announced in Aorist, been announced to you, you mean, through those who preached the good news. Those who preach the good news to you in the Holy Spirit or by the Holy Spirit sent from heaven, and then into which, so here he's modifying the ha again, or the alta actually, he's modifying the alta with the ha, is ha ebithimusin, the angels desire or long to look, or to peer, or to peek at. Okay. So here we see that where in the first two verses, verses 8 and 9, here you can look in the English, we see that these two verses, they talked about the church who only knew of Christ after the fact. That is, after Christ had already left earth and ascended into heaven. Here we see Peter talking about another group of people that have not seen Christ directly, but also in an indirect way, and likewise by faith, and that is through prophecies. So we see here that they are talking, Peter is talking about the church that came before. Even more so, we even see that even the angels in heaven, they have to look, or they have to see with a certain kind of faith before it was even revealed to them, since there was a time that they longed to look into such things, or there was a state in which they longed to look into such things before it was revealed to them. So there is here we see a certain solidarity between the church that came after Christ and also the church that came before. So, or the Israel that came before Christ. And we can also see that Peter stresses that the church before was also conscious of the church after. So not only does Peter tell the church after Christ that there are these people that came before Christ, he tells them that not only are the church that he's talking to right now, he's telling them about the church before. Not only are they conscious about the church before, but the church before is conscious about the church after. Here it says it was revealed to them that they were serving not themselves, but you. So here is a great encouragement from the conscious unity of the church that spans even history. This should also give us believers right now who are 2,000 years removed from Christ's death and resurrection some amount of encouragement. The distance in time is no barrier. It's not to the detriment of its reality, the reality of Christ's death and resurrection. And the gospel is always today and immediate to whoever it reaches. And even though it is in the past, it is not irrelevant. It is not in the irrelevant past. Peter is basically fronting the reality of the gospel to themselves. And he is also saying that this gospel was equally real to the people that came before Christ. So here we see that both of these groups, they are both walking by faith, and even now we are walking by faith, and we are walking by faith in a very real resurrection, which gives us very great hope. So this is a very encouraging verse. So that'll be all for verse 10 to 12, and I will see you next time.